What's the discrepancy here? Why are we so behind when it comes to what you're seeing work in Colombia versus what we're actually practicing here for medicine in the States?
Well, it's money. Big Pharma, the AMA, they got all those lobbyists in Washington. They go down to the congressman or the senator's office. They give them a bunch of dough, and they get their way. That's very unfortunate, but it's true. I'll give you a little bit of information. In 2002, the World Health Organization did a study of all the countries in the world, the quality of healthcare. In 2002, the United States ranked 37th in the world, and Colombia ranked 22nd. And if we were to do it 22 years later, I think the U.S. would be in the 50s and we'd be in the teens.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show. Well, howdy there, folks. Brian Nichols here on another fun-filled episode of The Brian Nichols Show. Yes, I am your forever humble host, Brian Nichols, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in sunny, cold, snowy eastern Indiana. I moved to Indiana thinking that I was going to be escaping the cold, but alas, it has followed me. Brian Nichols Show is brought to you by our phenomenal sponsors, Cardio Miracle and Amp America. Cardio Miracle is the best heart health supplement in the world. Scan that QR code over my shoulder, as well as all the other phenomenal sponsors you'll see flashing over my shoulder throughout the episode. Also, Amp America. Yes, the news you need to know without the corporate media bias or fluff. They are our proud sponsors here of the Brian Nichols Show. Head to ampamerica.com. We have news articles, opinion pieces, podcasts, and more. One more time, Amp America. For today's episode, we are digging into all things health and wellness, which unintentionally has become a reoccurring theme here on the Brian Nichols Show, which I think is actually a super important and good thing because for those of you who maybe are joining us for the first time on the Brian Nichols Show and aren't familiar with my own personal journey, I used to weigh 385 pounds. I was morbidly obese. I lived a life of big question marks in terms of my own physical fitness and health. And then, I had a battle with alcohol addiction back in the mid 2010s. And fast forward to where I am today, I feel the best I've felt basically ever. And for the episode today, I want other folks out there who maybe are struggling, whether it's with your diet, with the stuff you're putting in your body, maybe not so much those good stuffs, looking at alcohol and cigarettes and all that in between. How can you get your life back on track? It can feel like you're going up a mountain, pushing that proverbial Atlas stone. So what steps can you take? And do you have to take those steps alone? Well, the answer is, I hope you're guessing because we're doing an episode on it today. The answer is no, you don't have to do it alone. And to discuss all that and more, we're going to a mountain of hope, talking about mountains of hope with our good friend, Mike Murphy. Mike, welcome to the Brian Nichols Show. How you doing?
Thank you, Brian. I love your energy. Great to be here.
Mike, I'm surprised I got it because I've had a week. It's been a bear of a week. I've been on call after call after call, and every time I'm on a call, I call it turning on. Like I have to, I'm doing my thing. I gotta be good for the prospect, and then I turn off the call, and I'm just like, whew, that was a hike. And by the way, you rewind back to like Brian from yesteryear, around 10, 15 years ago. That would have crippled me. I would have been like, all right, time to break open the booze. Let's have a nice sip of, Tito's or something else in between. And we're not doing that no more, Mike, because I care about my health. And rumor is you care about people's health as well. So talk to us. What are you doing over there at Mountains of Hope? And how are you helping people get their lives back on track?
Well, Mountains of Hope is located 7,000 feet in the Andes Mountains outside of Medellin, Colombia. We're only 15 minutes from the Medellin airport, the international airport. And we have 20 acres of the most unbelievable nature that you could ever imagine. Because we're so close to the equator, every day it's 55 to 75 degrees, 365 days a year. So we have this beautiful nature that God gave us. We have this beautiful weather that's because of our location. And so I built this place because my wife, after a 9-year battle with breast cancer, passed away in 2011 at the age of 38.
Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. And I was devastated. She told me a million times, Mike, you need to learn to be vulnerable. And I didn't have a clue what she was talking about until she died. And then I understood totally what she was talking about. And so in that vulnerability, right after that, a friend called me up and said, Mike, I have my sister-in-law moving down here from Wyoming. She has stage 4 breast cancer. She's also 38 years old. And do you think you could help her find an oncologist? So I took her to our oncologist. He ordered some tests. I went with her. She didn't have the insurance that we had. She didn't have the resources. She didn't have a husband. And I noticed that they either talked down to her or over her head. And it kind of bothered me, but I let it go until we got back to our oncologist. And he said, Amanda, the best protocol to extend your life are 3 chemotherapies simultaneously. Unfortunately, your insurance will only pay for one. That's all I can give you. And frankly, that blew my mind. I didn't know the world worked like that. So I simply said, here's my credit card. You give her whatever it is she needs. That led to the Love for Margot Foundation. So for 4 or 5 years, I would give financial grants to women below the poverty line. I give them $5,000, $1,000 a month for 5 months while they went through treatment. The intention being they didn't have money to begin with. Now they're sick. Now they can't work. So I'm going to help them out until they get back to work. Unfortunately, the majority of the time they get sicker and sicker and eventually die. So I realized that there's a flaw in the system. And I wanted to build, and a lot of those women said to me, Mike, I wish I could go natural. I'd rather go natural than chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, but insurance won't pay for it. There's no place to go. So that's why I built this place. And there's really nothing like it in the world because first of all, we detox the body, get out parasites. And most Americans don't believe they have parasites, but they're full of parasites, especially if they eat sushi. Heavy metals, everybody's got heavy metals because they spray it in the air every day. And then, so we start to detox the body. How? With Kalimas. We have a lot of biohacking, like pulse electromagnetic frequency pads that you lay on. We have biochargers, which are electromagnetic energy that stimulates the cells to create detox. We have red light therapy. We have a sauna from Finland. Spend 15 minutes in there, then a cold plunge for 45 degrees for 5 minutes. Do that 3 times, 180 degrees in an infrared sauna, 45-minute cold plunge 3 times. We're a medical center. We're actually on a farm, a finca that they call them here, but we have a medical center. We have hyperbaric chamber. We have amazing doctors. And what I'm super excited about right now, we've created an alliance with the National University of Colombia. And they have a product called natural killer cells. So what happens? Let's say you're suffering from cancer or something like that, and you come here, day 1, we take a bunch of your blood, and then we give it to the National University of Colombia. They spin it, they separate the platelets from the T cells. T cells are the immune system's secret weapon to kill cancer cells. We all have cancer cells in our body, but the T cells wipe them out. But if the immune system's suppressed, then the tumor starts. So we take the blood, we grow these T cells for 3 weeks, and you get 400% more. So now we detox the body. We grow close to 90 different fruits and vegetables here. So they're getting with the purest soil you've ever seen. So they're getting this unbelievable green juice, this unbelievable nutrition. And now they start to feel better. And then 3 weeks later, we put these T cells back into their body. So you have an army of T cells that go after those cancer cells or their tumors. So super excited about that. The other thing that we get from the National University of Colombia is stem cells from the umbilical cord. They're called MSC stem cells. Now, they've been growing these for 20 years. And so what happens is they take the stem cells from the umbilical cord. It's called Wharton's jelly. And you know, when the sperm hits the egg, the first cell that's created is a stem cell. So everything in our body started as a stem cell. And the beautiful thing about stem cells, they eliminate elimination, but they also can become other cells in the body. So they're very powerful, especially for shoulders, knees, hips, joints. And I use it for anti-aging. So they're powerful for that too. And then along with the stem cells, there's another product called exosomes. Every stem cell produces 700 to 1,000 exosomes. And those are like the messengers that tell the stem cells where to go, what to do, and that sort of thing. So I really, and we also bring in indigenous ceremonies because we're in Colombia, and that's a big thing down here. So we have like cacao ceremony, which is very spiritual and very beautiful. We have a fire ceremony, and we include forgiveness in that, a forgiveness fire ceremony, where we honor the 4 directions, the 5 elements. We have a sweat lodge, which we go in there for about 2 hours with prayers and chanting. And we can bring in plant medicine, magic mushrooms if someone wants. That's not on our regular menu, but for people that want that, we make that available. Whatever it's going to take, you know, it's the environment that makes us sick. You know this from your history. The environment makes you sick. And what we do, we put you in a healing environment where you and your creator can heal your body. The body wants to be healed. It wants to be in homeostasis. So we've created the environment, and we also work a little bit with the neural pathways here. We gently nudge you out of your head, which I believe is the insane asylum, back into your heart. and we start to heal the heart and open the heart again. And now we start living from the heart. And now we can use this supercomputer to create the life of our dreams. So that's Mountains of Hope in a nutshell.
I love it. No, Mike, and it's funny. I've told this story a couple times in the show here. Like, you talk about environment and how it impacts your health. My wife and I were trying to conceive literally for like years, and we lived in the beautiful city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. It was beautiful and stinky and full of toxins. And as soon as we moved out of Philadelphia into the plains of Indiana, 6 months we had conceived. And nothing else changed. And it was one of those moments for me. It was like, oh, wow. Okay. So this really, like, your environment really does impact your overall health. But Mike, I do have, I'm a sales guy by trade, right? And one of the things I deal with in the sales world all the time is objections, right? And I'm just going to tell you right now, there's going to be folks who are listening to today's episode who are facing cancer, or they're looking to try to get their lives back on track. And they're going to say, well, let me take this to my doctor, right? I'm going to tell them about all these really cool things I heard in the Brian Nichols Show with Mike Murphy and Mountains of Hope. And the doctor's going to go, well, are they really, are they really, science? Is this really medicine? And this obviously all goes back to what we all faced during COVID from 2020 to today. Mike, I'm sure that's an objection you get hit with constantly. So let's just start the episode addressing the elephant in the room. What do you do when you get hit with the objections of, well, this isn't real medicine, this isn't real science?
Yeah, and bringing up sales and marketing. So I was a car salesman and automobile dealer for 40 years of my life in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I get where you're coming from. But I'll be honest with you, when it comes to natural killer cells, now, this university has been doing it for 7 years. There's a lot of clinical trials going on. There's a lot of papers being published. But I can't find anybody else doing it. But you can't, there's impossible to negate the fact that in our body are T cells, okay? Yep. It's irrefutable. And so all we're doing is taking your blood, separating the T cells from the plasma, and cells replicate. That's what cells do. So it's like growing anything. Cells want to replicate. So we put them in an environment where they replicate, and we put them back. So that's the easiest objection that I ever have to come up with natural killer cells. You'd be shocked, people are coming from all over, especially here in Colombia. For the stem cells, we tell them about the natural killer cells. I take them myself for prevention. Okay, so that's easier to sell than stem cells because it just makes so much sense.
Whenever I hear stem cells, I always think back to, did you ever watch Family Guy by chance? I know that might be not necessarily your vibe, but
I don't think so.
No. Okay. So Family Guy is known for cutaways. So they'll have the main story, and then they always it's like that time, and then they cut away, in the middle of the show. And one of them is Peter trying to understand, how he can help fix his stroke. And he walks into this clinic that says stem cells, and then 5 minutes later he walks out and he goes, "Why aren't we funding this?" Let me ask you, right, Mike? Why aren't we funding this? Why is it that you have to go to Colombia in order to start offering these different services when, I go to, IU or, whatever big medical institution here in Indiana, or, I go to Jefferson when I was in Philadelphia, and they're always going to push the prescription, right? They're always going to push whatever is being passed down from Big Pharma. What's the discrepancy here? Why are we so behind when it comes to what you're seeing work in Colombia versus what we're actually practicing here for medicine in the States?
Well, it's money. Big Pharma, the AMA, they got all those lobbyists in Washington. They go down to the congressman or the senator's office. They give them a bunch of dough, and they get their way. That's very unfortunate, but it's true. I'll give you a little bit of information. In 2002, the World Health Organization did a study of all the countries in the world, the quality of healthcare. In 2002, the United States ranked 37th in the world, and Colombia ranked 22nd. And if we were to do it 22 years later, I think the U.S. would be in the 50s and we'd be in the teens. It's all about money. And I hate to say this, I grew up in that country. I love that country, but it's been corrupted. And it's been corrupted by money, and it's lost its soul, and it's run by big corporations. And that's just the truth of the matter.
RFK
let's hope. Let's keep our fingers crossed. But it's interesting. If you look at the ingredients in a lot of our food products, they're illegal in Europe. Okay. Yeah. I'll give you another example. A friend of mine came down here. She had been in surgery in the U.S. and they ruined her nerves in her thigh. Right. They tied the thing too tight. So we're having dinner with a doctor friend of mine, and he says, you should try this medication. She says, yes, she goes, it's $400 in the US, $200 generic. He goes, well, you can walk right downstairs to the pharmacy. It's going to be $5 to $10 and no prescription. So there's something wrong. There's something wrong here, right? And yeah. And so there's it's all about money.
That's nuts. Like that's I'm not good at math. That's like what a 200% markup, 500% mark. It's a lot of money.
It's huge. And I had another friend that had a quote for $35,000 worth of dental work and came down here and got better materials for $5,500. So that's
right
the other,
there.
yeah,
Mike, and that's the thing, right? There is a preconceived perception notion that if it's not in America, it's not good. And I don't know where this has come from. Like, help unsell this mindset.
It's programming. It's television program. Everybody here wants to go to America, right?
Yep.
And I'll put it all in a nutshell for you. So they import beef from the United States, USDA prime, which is full of hormones and chemicals and God knows what else. Where here, all the beef is free roaming. The cattle just roam free, okay? And they only eat grass. But because it comes from America and it's USDA prime, they charge more for it here. And it's 10 times worse for your body. It's all brainwashing. You can thank Hollywood for this.
Well, and by the way, I brought his name up, RFK Jr., right? He is the head, right? Well, he's chosen to be the head of HHS. And you look at RFK Jr., you look at, the right now, the EPA or EPA, FDA, one of those two, FDA just said they're going to ban red dye 3 30 years, 40 years after our friends over in Europe went ahead and did so. And you look at, okay, well, let's make the best argument we can for red dye 3. Why do we need red dye 3? Well, because it makes the food more attractive and makes kids want to go crazy and buy it. That's not a reason. That's not that we're giving ourselves cancer and we're doing it in the name of, well, it makes my food brighter. It makes the reds redder. Like and I don't know, Mike, maybe it's because I went through this health journey. Like 20 years ago, I looked at the scale and I said, 385 pounds. Can't do that forever. Lost 180 pounds, just diet and exercise, walking, doing the basics, right? And then I went through my alcohol issue back in the 2010s, and kind of taking myself out of that and saying, okay, not only do you have to do the right things physically, but you also got to make sure you're not putting literal poison in your body. And I know you mentioned Michael Patrick Murphy. You were born to drink, right? I know you said you had some issues with that as well, but there is such and you said programming. I think it's programming. I think it's culture, right? That leads to the programming to create this mentality that this is normal. This is how you live, right? Like you go to college, you go party, you go hard, you go crazy, you take the shots, you have some fun. And then you fast forward 10, 15, 20 years and you're paying for it with your health. And we see this right now. It's the basics. It's the food that we're putting in our body, which is supposed to be fuel, and it's literal poison.
Let me tell you why that happened. If you look at a picture of a beach in the 1960s, everybody's slim, right?
Yep. Skinny minis everywhere. Yep. Hey, folks, I want to take a moment to talk about something that has truly changed my life, and that is Cardio Miracle, our incredible studio sponsor. Now, I'll be honest. When I first heard about Cardio Miracle and their claims about improving heart health, I was skeptical, but after using it for just about 2 months, I was absolutely blown away by the results. First, my blood pressure went from being consistently around 140/90 to a much more healthier and manageable 120/80. And my resting heart rate dropped from the low 70s to the high 50s. And I couldn't believe it. But the benefits didn't stop there. I started sleeping better, and I felt more energized at the gym, and my heart felt the best it's felt in years. And it's not just me. Hundreds of you, our amazing listeners, have reached out to share your own incredible experiences with Cardio Miracle. So, what is Cardio Miracle? And how does it work? It's a carefully crafted supplement that harnesses the power of nitric oxide to support optimal heart function. So, by increasing nitric oxide levels in your blood, Cardio Miracle helps relax your blood vessels, improve circulation, and it protects your heart from damage. It's like giving your heart the support it needs to function at its best. And here's the best part. We've got an exclusive offer just for you, our loyal listeners here at The Brian Nichols Show. When you head over to cardiomiracle.com and use code TBNS at checkout, you'll get an extra 15% discount on your order. Plus, with their 100% money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So, if you're ready to take control of your heart health and experience the life-changing benefits of Cardio Miracle for yourself, just click the link in the show notes or video description. Trust me, your heart will thank you. And don't wait another day to prioritize your health. Join the tens of thousands of folks who have already discovered the Cardio Miracle difference. Head to cardiomiracle.com now and use code TBNS for 15% off your order. Your journey to a happier and healthier heart starts today. And now, let's get back to the show.
And everybody's fat. Well, here's what happened. So every cell in our body has a nicotine receptor. So nicotine was not the problem. What big tobacco did, they realized that, and then they put a chemical called prizine or something like this attached to the nicotine. So the nicotine would hit this receptor in the cell, but the addictive prizine was the chemical that was addicted. That's why people got addicted to smoking. Then they also put arsenic in the paper and sugar in the tobacco. So everybody was addicted. Now that got exposed in the mid 80s. So big tobacco, what'd they do? They bought big food. I think they bought General Mills, Kraft, and one other, and they used the same technology to get people hooked on food. That processed food in the States is literally addicting, okay? And so you can't get off of it. So people now, and here's the best part. So now everybody got type 2 diabetes. So what do? Now they got a drug called Ozempic that comes from poison from an animal from the desert, and it's like putting Botox in your stomach. The long-term effects of this are going to be horrendous. You know,
but Mike, I look so handsome now that I've lost 30 pounds taking Ozempic.
My daughter's on it. It breaks my heart. She's lost 39 pounds. Okay, but there's going to be long-term side effects to this, and they say you have to take it for life. So it's going to be a tragedy, but that's what people are doing.
Well, and Mike, I'm not going to try to dig into family stuff, but I'm just curious because you brought her up. Your daughter's taking Ozempic. I mean, do you find yourself just kind of like, how did you get here, honey? Like, I mean, because this is your life, right? Like, it'd be like, I'm a Liberty-based podcaster who leads with sales and marketing strategies and messaging, right? If all of a sudden my daughter turned into, Carrie the communist, right? Like that would definitely be a red flag. And folks would be like, oh, what's going on behind the scenes there? But like, to your daughter, is it that it's the programming? Is it the conditioning? Like you see all these people, they're getting skinny. I should try this too.
And she's 44. She's given birth to 4 children, and she's got a husband that grinds her about her weight. So this is the easy. And she's she's busier than hell. She's got her own business. She works a bunch of hours there. She's raising 4 kids. 2 of them are teenagers. So she got her hands full. So this is the American way. The American way is we want everything now. That's why we have microwaves. Now we have DoorDash. We don't even have to get off the damn couch to get our food. Okay. So she just sticks a needle in her butt or whatever she does. I don't know. And she loses this weight. So everybody's doing it around her. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's programming.
It's the easy button, right? We talked about this in the show. I think it was actually an episode we did called the Ozempic era, and how the American, and I'm just going to talk about America now because this is where we're seeing a lot of these problems. Like America has been so conditioned to search for that easy button, right? And this is something I learned as I was losing the weight. As soon as you aim to push that easy button, you're unintentionally pushing the hard button. And you don't realize it right at that moment because of time preference. And we're seeing this right now with the FDA talking about red dye 3. They're like, yeah, we banned this in cosmetics 20 years ago. And it's hard to see the immediate impacts because cancer, like you don't eat this red dye 3 filled, I don't know, Tootsie Roll or whatever. And then, tomorrow you get cancer. That's just not how it works. Yeah. So it's difficult for people to say, oh, I ate this thing a lot of times for XYZ years. And here I am 20 years later with, stage 4 cancer, right? Like it's hard to say, well, A plus B equals C. And a lot of Americans, I think, take that and they use that as I don't know what caused this. I have no idea. Right. But we all know we're poisoning ourselves. We're filling ourselves with garbage.
Well, you bring up another big problem in the world is everybody wants to be a victim. And the truth is of the matter is we're either all victims or none of us are victims. So pick your poison. I believe that we're all powerful creators and we came here to create something and do something with our lives. But as you know, when you weigh 385 pounds, it's pretty damn difficult to do a lot of stuff, to create a lot of stuff. So I commend you for losing that weight, waking up and finding yourself, and now spreading the good news through your podcast. So congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Well, how about this? Let's continue to spread some good news, because Mountains of Hope is actually taking people where they're at, and maybe not in the greatest of situations at the onset, but helping turn their lives around. And I know for the audience listening to today, there's a lot of folks who they're probably sitting there saying, yep, this is me. This is me. He's talking about me. And you know, Mike, I think this is a great chance for you to not necessarily make the pitch, but just help paint the picture here. Mountains of Hope. Like, if I'm someone sitting and listening to this show in you know, Montana, right? Like, what can I do? Like, you're down in Colombia. Can you help me?
Yeah. Well, I can help you if you're at home and you don't have to come here. Like, if you come here, we definitely help you. But if you're at home, so in 2018, I published a book called The Creation Frequency, and it puts you in a self-hypnotic trance, teaches you how to do this, and write a powerful intention. You know, I would encourage you to write one around health. Then I have an app. So you download the app, you record this powerful intention. All this is on my website, Mike Murphy Unfiltered. Everything's for free there. And you can learn how to do this. But you got to reprogram this, and you got to tell the 50 trillion cells in your body what you want. And you have to create these intentions around health. Once you do that, now there's some easy things you can do. When I'm in California, where I live when I'm not here, I love getting up early in the morning before the sun rises, barefoot with a bathing suit on, and watching the sun rise. Two things are happening. I'm grounding the Mother Earth that broadcasts its own frequency called the Schumann resonance, 7.36 hertz. But what it's doing for me is filling my body with negative electrons, which is, we're made of atoms. So electrons are super important. So I'm grounding the Mother Earth. I'm getting these negative electrons, which is balancing my body. But when I see that sun start to rise and I see that red light, now we have red light therapy here, but if you can get it naturally from the sun, it's free. I swear, I can see the photons coming at me. It's as if God is programming my day for me right there. So I love doing that. The other thing you can do is you can buy a sauna that you can sit in for $500-$600. Okay, get super hot and then take a cold shower. You can take a cold shower every morning. So that's really, really good for the inflammation in your body. And the other thing is, eat whole foods, get rid of those processed foods, and juice, green juice. There's nothing better than green juice. So you have to be careful there, because you got to try to find organic, but there's some products, like I have a good friend, he has chemical free body. And so he sells really clean green juice. So it's powdered. It's not going to be like, you're grinding up broccoli, but green juice, you got to feed yourself. And the other thing is detox. Okay. There's all kinds of places you can find on YouTube for free on how to detox. And so you have to get these parasites out of your body. There's lots of parasite cleanses you can see for free. Heavy metals, you're full of them. You got to get them out. And if you do that and you put good natural whole foods, my grandchildren think food grows in a box. Okay. Food does not grow in a box. You have to eat whole food. And so if you do these things, and the other thing is, I drink distilled water. Then what we do here at Mountains of Hope, then we spin it. It's always moving, because water, God's water, evaporates, distill it, comes down, hits the stream. It's always moving and picks up the minerals. So we distill our water, we put minerals in it, and then we keep it moving. And what it does, it hydrates the body better. I have a good friend, wrote a book called Saved by the Light. He was dead for 28 minutes. But he says everybody in America is dehydrated and under mineralized. So that alone will start to make you feel better. Once you feel better, then it's easier to get up early in the morning. It's easier to go walk or exercise or whatever, hike. And then we can talk about spirituality and all that other important stuff.
Two things. I'm going to go back to something you raised up about your grandkids thinking that the food comes from the box at the grocery store. I saw this video on YouTube the other day, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. And it was this girl. She's like, okay, I hope I'm not the only one who thinks this, but like, I had a friend come over and she was saying, why do you have a bag of lemons in your fridge? And I was like, because I bought them from the store. And she goes, well, you have a lemon tree in your backyard. Why aren't you just go getting the lemons from your backyard? And I didn't know. I could do that. I could just get lemons off the tree. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, who are these people? Like, how do you grow up and not, I don't know, like, for me, it just feels like common sense because I grew up in the middle of upstate New York, like on an old farm. So like we had an apple tree. I would go, hey, I want an apple. Go get the apple from the apple tree. Like that was just what you did. And just see like so many folks, and maybe it's all like contextual, right? Like if you grew up in a big city and that's all you knew, and you only got food from the grocery store, and you never saw like a lemon tree being like a lemon tree for food, just it's a pretty lemon tree. I get it. Like I understand how you don't see that A plus B equals C. Then like on the go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Perhaps they spent 2 years going to school via Zoom and they got a little dumbed down.
That's a conversation for a different day because we've had our thoughts there on that. But it does segue, Mike, into like then the other stuff we willingly put into our bodies, right? Like I saw this funny meme. It's the Spider-Man meme where you have like 3 Spider-Mans who look the same and they're all pointing at each other. And one of them, it says like my dad, my grandpa, and me. And it's like the dad pointing at the grandpa, and it's like the grandpa's full of lead, dad's full of asbestos, and I'm full of microplastics, right? And like that's true though, and we knowingly put this stuff into our bodies, or we're putting in ourselves into situations where we're getting microplastics into our bodies. So really quick, Mike, as we're kind of getting towards the end of the show here, I know I'm just here, toss a grenade really quick about a whole different topic, but like microplastics, is that something you guys can help focus on and help address? Or
yeah, of course, it's all detox. So kalimas, coffee enemas, the sweating it out, the infrared sauna heat from the inside
did you say
out.
Coffee enema?
Yeah, coffee enema. No cream or sugar though. So what the coffee enema was created by a guy named Gerson who had the Gerson therapy, was healing people of cancer and had to go to Tijuana. But what happens is the coffee detoxes the liver. And what's really cool about that's where we store our anger. So if we can clean that liver, okay, and you need the liver, okay, that's one of your vital organs. But once we detox it, then your anger goes down. You're in less fight or flight. And you have a more peaceful existence. Yeah.
No kidding. I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt there. I heard coffee enemas and I had to take a time out and see what that was about. But like, fill us more in about the microplastics for the detox. What are the other things you mentioned, like heating up and stuff?
Sauna. Okay. Sauna for sure. We have this red light therapy, grounding to Mother Earth. The colonics for sure. You can get colonics anywhere in the States. And green juice. All this stuff, you got to keep flushing this stuff out of your body. And that's one of the worst ones. That's why everybody has low testosterone and they have more estrogen, is because of these plastics. But quit drinking these plastic bottles that sit in a warehouse at 100 degrees and all that stuff leaks into there. Get a tabletop distiller. Take your water, distill it, okay, and then put minerals in it and drink that water out of a glass. And we got to get rid of these plastics. We got to get rid of these plastics.
Where do you get your minerals from to put into the water?
So ours are LMNT. I actually buy them from Amazon. It's because they're such good tasting, and they have sodium and potassium and magnesium. So that's what we use here.
Okay, and like distilled water, you can buy a tabletop distiller. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's like $600-700 Aquanini. Of course, we have large ones here, but you can get one at your home. At my home in Medellin, I have one, and so I use all distilled water. It's $600-700 Aquanini, and just you pour the water in, it distills it, and there you go.
Okay, I candidly have learned a ton today, Mike. Now the whole catchphrase for the show is we educate, we enlighten, and we inform. And I'm gonna, as I turn towards the end of the episode today, I think this is one of those episodes where I kind of sit back and I'm like, wow, I've been educated, I've been enlightened, I've been informed. And I always look at myself as I'm smarter than the average bear, for better or for worse, specifically when it comes to the health stuff, because I've lived this, right? And I've seen, I used to work in the fitness industry. I used to lead Gold's gyms and stuff like that. I worked with personal trainers, and I helped build out these programs and stuff for physical fitness. So like, I've always felt that I'm more aware of this stuff than not. And yet, even when back in the 2010s, I had a coworker and he had cancer, and he had jaw cancer, and he was able to defeat his cancer without going to the doctor once. And I was like, Chuck, what? And he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I've been doing, he's talking about coconut oil and like, all these other different things. I'm just like, it didn't compute then, because I was still kind of programmed, right? I was programmed to believe this doesn't sound right because it's not coming from a doctor. It's not coming from somebody in a big white lab coat. So I'm skeptical. And now I fast forward to today, and man, you danced around it a little bit there, Mike, but like COVID, right? COVID,
Right.
at home learn, like all that happened then. If there was one thing that made me, and I know a lot of other folks in the audience as well, kind of go, okay, something's not right here. Like these narratives aren't A plus B ain't equal in C anymore. Like I really started to question everything across the board. Like I was questioning, why am I being told to take these different medications? Why am I being told my blood pressure it's genetic and that I can never get rid of it? And I have to take these 3 pills for the rest of my life. And I'm waiting for over my shoulder here to have Cardio Miracle pop back up as a sponsor, because John Hewlett came to the show and he talked about this supplement he put together called Cardio Miracle, and how it helped him naturally take care of his blood pressure, his heart issues, all this stuff. And I was still, there they are, Cardio Miracle. Scan now, folks. I was super skeptical, right? And I was like, okay, John, you know what? I'll give it a try. I'll try this. 2 months, Mike. 2 months. My blood pressure went from 140/90 to 120/80. I did nothing different besides putting the right things in my body. And like, that was for me, like the ultimate, okay, I get it now. I need to make sure for the show specifically, like we talk about politics, we talk about all that fun stuff, but like we need to plant our flag on talking about health and talking about what is considered health and what is considered just tossing, a medicine at a problem. So I love what you're doing. I am so thankful that we were able to have this conversations today. And I'm glad you're giving folks mountains of hope. Mike, with that being said, that's my final thoughts for today. Go ahead, bring us home. What do you have for us? And where can folks go ahead, reach out to you? I know you said Mike Murphy Unlimited, Uncensored.
Mike Murphy Unfiltered. You can see
Unfiltered.
my books and my law of attraction, my manifestation process called the creation frequency. The book is it's a really simple book. I have an 8th grade education, so it can't be too complicated. But my passion is mountainsofhope.com. Just go there, schedule a free consultation with one of our doctors. And if we can help you, we'll bring you down here. It's very inexpensive. Labor is much cheaper here, so we have a lot of advantages. And so just schedule a free consultation, mountainsofhope.com. We'd love to see you down here.
I love it, Mike. And you know what? I will finish with this. From tragedy, some amazing things can happen, right? And I'm terribly sorry to hear about the passing of your wife, 38 years old. That breaks my heart. I'm in my 30s, and it makes it real, right? Like when you're younger, your mortality is like, yeah, it's down the road. And no, it's not. It can happen to anybody. And, to see you took the devastation of losing your wife to turning this into a literal mountain of hope for folks out there. I mean, that speaks to your testament of trying to help bring some awesome solutions here in the health space to folks. So thank you for all you're doing. And all the links, folks, if you want to go ahead, learn more about Mountains of Hope, learn more about Mike, they're going to be in our show notes. So go to your favorite podcast catcher that you're listening to today's episode, or you're watching us on YouTube, head down below into the description, click those links, go ahead, give Mike some love. And when you do, please let him know you heard him on his appearance here on the Brian Nichols Show. With that being said, folks, please go ahead, support our phenomenal sponsors. All these folks you've been seeing over my shoulder, Mudwater, Ebles, CBD, Cardio Miracle, they are all folks that I truly believe in, because they're doing things differently when it comes to health. So if you want to start taking your health seriously, talk to Mike, scan these QR codes, start checking out some different alternatives so you can start living a more healthy lifestyle. And also, please make sure that you're paying attention to your health, because at the end of the day, that's I'd say one of the most important things, because if you can't feel good and because your body is just full of garbage, then how do you think you're going to go out and do good in the world? How can you go out and have the energy to like make change? You want to talk about politics all day long? Great. Okay. You got to have a healthy ticker to be able to do that. So what are you going to do to get a healthy ticker? Stuff like that. So I'm ranting and rambling. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us. And folks, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast catcher. You can find yours truly on Twitter, Facebook, and wherever it is you get your social media at the Nichols Liberty. With that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show for Mike Murphy. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.